Welcome to The Coach's Call, a podcast by the Texas High School Coaches Association. In this show, Chris Daly introduces you to coaches across all sports and highlights the positive impact of public schools and high school athletics. Chris will introduce his guest after these messages.
Hello, Coach's Call listeners. This is Joe Martin, Executive Director of Texas High School Coaches Association. Thank you for listening to our new podcast. This is a new adventure for us. Our goal is with this podcast to help spread the stories of all positive things coaches in our great state do for athletes. We also want to keep you updated with all the THSCA initiatives our members can take advantage of. As you go through your season, don't forget to nominate your best athletes for our Super Elite teams. We will have teams from each sport and classification under the UIL umbrella. Also, we need your help recognizing the state's amazing assistant coaches and head coaches. As coaches typically don't have a problem recognizing their athletes, but we struggle when it comes to patting ourselves on the back. So let's change it. Make it a priority to help us recognize the great work that coaches do in the state of Texas. Finally, put February 3 on your calendar right now. Saturday, February the 3rd, we will have our annual regional meetings. This is a great opportunity to gather with area coaches, get THSCA updates, and nominate people for THSCA awards. This is open to all coaches of all sports, and it's the perfect way to network with coaches in your area. So go to thsca.com to find nomination forms, deadlines, regional meeting sites, and much, much more. We want to thank all of our coaches for the work they do for students every day. We will continue to support you by helping coaches help kids. Thank you.
Have you ever thought about doing your own podcast? It is the absolute best way to grow your brand, spread your message, and build your following. Fresh Media Works can help. We do all the heavy lifting, and you just focus on your message. To find out how easy we can make launching your new podcast, call 713-269-4620 or check us out at freshmediaworks.com.
The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com. All right, everybody join me in welcoming Leslie Slovak to the show. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You bet. Gosh, I tell you, I really want to talk about what you're doing now, being Executive Director of Athletics at Richardson, but I always like to start out. Tell me where you grew up, where you got into sports first.
Well, I grew up in East Texas, Mount Pleasant. That's where I really started really getting involved in athletics and just had a great experience, as a young kid and even knew in 8th grade that I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I had such a great experience, so many great coaches around me, and it was just a great place to grow up. Small town, just was blessed. So just fabulous people and, incredible what athletics did in my life, and it really started there.
Nice. And what sports did you play?
I played volleyball, basketball, did tennis in high school, did softball in the summer because at that time we did not have softball in the school, in the school. So it was year round for me, but I went from sport to sport and just loved it, loved all of them.
Yeah, it seems like everybody from a generation past played every sport, but now everybody's kind of specializing. Have you seen that change?
I have, and I'm not a fan of it, and it's tough because I dealt with that with my daughter, who just really fell in love with volleyball and played everything in junior high, and then in high school decided she wanted to be a straight volleyball player. And I think the select world out there is, there's pros and cons to it, and you've got kids who want to play at the collegiate level, and then they start specializing. But it's interesting. You talk to college coaches, they like the multi-sport athlete. I have a son in junior high that I'm really hoping and praying that he will continue to be a multi-sport athlete in high school. And I know it's hard. It's easier said than done, but I think that we need to let kids make those decisions and make sure we're not putting, as adults, that we're not putting a kid between two adults.
Right. So tell me about college. Where did you go off to college, and how did you actually get into coaching?
Well, I went to college at a small school. It's a Division II school, East Texas State University in Commerce, which is now A&M Commerce, and had an incredible experience there. I was fortunate enough to play volleyball, and just being a student athlete at the collegiate level was something that, definitely a full-time job, but I loved it, embraced it, and worked a lot of camps in the summer and loved working with kids. And I think that really even convinced me even more that this is what I want to do. And so I was just fortunate to, right out of college, apply for a job here in Richardson ISD that I really didn't think I would get. I just did it because a professor who was my advisor said, "Great school district, why don't you apply? It'll be good for you to go through the interview process." And I didn't think that I would get the job. And fortunate enough that they offered me the head volleyball position at Berkner High School here in Richardson, and I was a head volleyball coach at 22 years old, and really, really young, but what an incredible opportunity, and loved every minute of it.
Excellent. And everybody, when they first get into coaching, they kind of there's a wake-up call somewhere in there when they go, wait, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. What was that like for you?
Well, I think one of the wake-up calls for me is, especially at the varsity level, is you can't always show kids how much you love them and how much you care about them with playing time. And I don't think I was prepared for how hard that would be. I had kids that worked extremely hard, but we were also trying to compete and trying to win, and I would try to get them into games when I could, but finding that balance was hard. And so I was really intentional about building great relationships with not only the real talented players, but the ones that didn't get to play as much, and the kids at the sub-varsity level. And that's difficult because everybody wants to play, and so I had to have some tough conversations. Cutting kids is the hardest part of the job. Also, not being able to reward kids with playing time always was really tough and eye-opening, but I tried to do it with love and grace, and but it's still difficult.
Yeah, and talk about the impact that other coaches had on your career early on.
Probably the one that really stands out is my high school volleyball coach, Michelle Schuper. She's still coaching, and in fact, she's in Benton, Arkansas, where she's won multiple state championships. She's just incredible coach, but even a better person. And she just had this way about her that I knew she just had extremely high expectations, but she helped you get there. And she believed in me. I wanted to run through a wall for her, and I just thought, wow, what an incredible impact she had. Maybe I can give back, and I hope I can make that impact on young people at some point. And so I really owe a lot to her. I mean, when you have a great experience and a coach who continues to be a part of your life, I mean, we're very good friends now, and she's going to be in my life forever. And that to me is what it's about. It's about the relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about how the team did. You're a very young coach. You're coming to a good program, but how did the team do under you?
Well, I inherited some pretty talented kids, and we did make a couple of playoff runs, and that was fun and exciting. And I loved every day. I loved going to practice. I loved competing. I mean, we had one year we made it to the regional tournament, and that was really exciting. But unfortunately, I didn't get to go because I was in the hospital having my daughter, who's now 23 years old. So I missed the regional tournament and did not get to go with my team. But I was so proud of them for making it that far, and I did inherit a really good group, and we were always competitive. And that's probably what I was the most proud of, is that we competed well.
Right, and what about the changes you've seen in girls' athletics in Texas during your career?
Just the numbers continue to go up. I mean, and I think, just the young girls can look and they can be on a team, and it's not, and you've got females in roles that maybe they haven't been in before, whether it's an athletic director or in the business world, and it's just something that it's a way for them to develop better leadership skills, to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And I think that's why you see numbers continue to grow on the girls' side, is that girls want to compete, and they get after it, and they work hard, and I love that we've got 4 strength and conditioning coaches here in Richardson, and they're phenomenal, and they work so well with our female athletes, and they don't treat them different than our guys. I mean, we set the expectation, and whether you're male or female, you're going to get coached hard, you're going to be loved hard, we're going to help you reach your expectations, and it's just a culture, and it's just a great time for young ladies to be growing up at a point where they have the opportunity to really be a part of anything and everything. Nice.
And from being that first-time coach to being the director of athletics, you've had some stops along the way. Talk about the different versions of your career.
Well, it's interesting. I'm blessed. They've all been here in Richardson ISD. This is year 29 for me. And so after 6 years at Berkner High School, which is not very long, the assistant AD position came open. And I knew at some point I wanted to get into administration, but I had this plan in my mind that I would coach for 12, 15 years, maybe, and then apply for something that comes open. Well, these jobs don't come open very often, and I was encouraged to apply, and fortunate, once again, I was in the right place at the right time with people like Bob Doobie, who hired me right out of college, who then hired me as his assistant, an incredible leader and mentor, and I was fortunate enough to be named assistant AD, and I spent 15 years learning from him and being a part of building an athletic program in a multi-school district that's, it's challenging, and I loved every minute of it, and I felt like he gave me so many opportunities to be prepared for when he retired, to have a very legitimate shot at taking over, and I'm fortunate that, my bosses, the leaders at the time, trusted me and gave me that opportunity, and now I'm in year 8 as AD.
Nice. And what about, I guess, tell me the appeal to the administrative side, because I've talked to so many coaches who, when they get to the administrative side of things, they I really miss the kids. So what was the appeal? You say you were thinking in that direction anyway.
Well, I think the appeal for me was trying to make a difference at a bigger level, not just the kids that I coached. And it is a lot more fun, and it is a lot easier, in my opinion, to coach kids than it is to coach adults. And we deal with some hard situations from adults sometimes, and just like you do, you have your challenges with kids as well. But you do miss the kids, you miss the relationships. But I wanted everyone, I don't know what it was, I just wanted to be a part of making decisions, whether it's facilities, hiring coaches. The experience that our kids have when they're in our programs is important to me, and I could only really have a say in my group, or my sub-varsity teams and my varsity team. That was my only impact, and I thought, well, maybe I could make a bigger impact if I was leading a larger program. And I do miss the kids, and I missed them that first year. Really, the first 2 years as assistant AD, I'll be honest, were really hard from a standpoint of you go to games and you watch, and you don't really know the kids. You don't have that relationship, and the best part of the job is going and watching our kids compete. But what you do is you build relationships with the coaches, and indirectly you get to know the kids. And then I was very intentional about wanting the kids to have a voice, and so we shortly after I was named AD, we created a student-athlete leadership team that we call SALT, and we have 4 student-athletes from each high school for a total of 16 that meet with my assistant and I once a month. And so I really get to know those kids and really listen to their feedback and want to help them become better leaders and give them some tools to take back to their campus. So that's kind of just one way where I still feel like I have a connection, with the kids.
Nice. And the Texas High School Coaches Association, their motto, helping coaches help kids, that to me sounds like what you're saying the role of an AD is all about, is helping coaches touch more lives.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, we're in the kid business, and you can never lose sight of that. And, I talk to our coaches all the time about, I know that we're going to have kids and parents and coaches. They're not going to always agree with the decisions that are made, but every decision that I'm a part of, that I feel like I have influence on or I make individually, it's what's best for kids. And that has to be at the forefront of everything we do. And, I think that that's something that, that Joe and Glenn and Libby and the entire staff do at Texas High School Coaches Association, is they give opportunities for kids, whether it's a mentor program, for coaches that, kids are going to benefit when coaches are involved in a mentor program. Kids are going to benefit when coaches go to coaching school and they go and they learn and they go to these clinics and they go to these lectures and they take things back to their campus. Kids are benefiting from that, and I think it's that global picture it's important. Never lose sight that we're here for kids.
Definitely, and you mentioned coaching school and the association. As an administrator of a district, how do you, promote for coaches to be involved in organizations like the Coaches Association?
Well, one way you do it is financially, and we will pay their membership, and that's important because we want them to get awards as, All-State, All-Star, Academic All-State. So making sure that we take care at a minimum of their membership, and then we do a rotation. We do pay for coaches to go to clinics, and we may not be able to send all 200 coaches in RSD to every single clinic they want to go to, but we try to be creative and we try to find a way to do it kind of on a rotation basis. But it's important that they stay current, and it's important that we go and we learn as much as we can about our craft, and we bring that back, and our kids are better because of that. And it's also a great networking opportunity. We have coaches, assistant coaches that want to be head coaches, and head coaches that want to be assistant ADs and ADs, and one of the best ways is to join associations like Texas High School Coaches.
Definitely. And a lot of times I'll talk to coaches and they talk about these lifelong relationships they've developed with kids. The bulk of your career has been with other coaches. So let's twist that a little bit. Talk about those relationships you've built with some of the coaches that you've worked with and have worked for you.
Well, I think that it's so important to me. I mean, we have so many coaches that have been here almost as long as I have, and then some that have left us for promotions, and then I try to steal them back at some point. But I'm really just proud of the fact that we have coaches that are all in for kids, and when they're all in for kids and they're working so hard, I'm drawn to people that are in this for the right reason and that they work so hard. And I care about their personal life. I care about what's going on. I care about their goals. And I never want to lose a good coach, but if they have an opportunity that's not open here in Richardson ISD, I'm going to be the first one to help them, whether it's with their resume or interview skills or whatever it may be, because I want them to be successful and I want them to go and make a huge impact wherever that may be. But hopefully it's here. But we've lost some great ones. We've also lost some and brought them back, and that's always rewarding when we get to bring them back. And we also have a lot of kids that graduate from Richardson ISD schools and then come back, and we're able to hire them as teachers and coaches, and that's always really good because I already know them, I have a great relationship with them, and then I get to watch them develop into this really good teacher and coach that makes a huge impact.
Excellent. And when a new coach comes to you, what is the elevator pitch for what they need to know about Richardson athletics?
Well, I think what they really need to know is that you're going to be supported. There's going to be an open door. I'm going to answer my phone 24/7. I'm going to help problem solve. But they need to know that we're going to win the right way. We're not going to operate in the gray area. We're going to do things above board within UIL rules, within ISD rules. We're going to follow policies and procedures. And when we mess up, we're going to have some hard conversations. But they're going to have all the support they need. I think that we do a great job of giving them the resources they need to be successful. And the one thing I ask is that you take care of our kids and that you make really good decisions that are best for kids. And the ones that do that, they stay here a long time typically, and they're happy and they work hard. The tough times are when you have to have those difficult conversations. But just like when you're dealing with kids, people make mistakes sometimes, and the key is, do you learn from it? And we have those hard conversations. That's just part of being a leader. And then we move on, and hopefully we learn from them, and we're better because of it.
Right on. And when position coaches become head coaches, there's a learning curve, and there's some new things they hadn't seen. Talk about that from the AD standpoint that maybe head coaches don't see. Some things you have to deal with that a head coach of an individual sport doesn't see.
Well, I think, for our head coaches, especially when they make the jump to be an assistant to a head coach, they will all tell you, and I'm in this category too, you kind of think you know what it's going to be like, right, to sit in that chair. And then until you're in that chair and you're making those tough calls and that tough decision, and you're getting criticized, and you're working harder, and you're supervising a staff, not only just kids, but now you've got a staff that you're evaluating and you're supervising. It's a difficult jump, and you think you know what it's going to be like, but I think everyone will admit it's hard to really know until you make that jump, and that's something that I try to talk to them about, and it can affect your family too. It's like, are you ready to be a head coach? Are you ready to be an AD? Because there are sacrifices that are going to have to be made. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm at dinner and I've got to take a call, and it can't wait. People say put your phone away or do this, but there are some emergencies and some things when you're in certain leadership roles that have to be addressed right then. And so there are sacrifices that your family make. And so I think that's one thing I try to do is, we have Aspiring Leadership Academy for anyone that's wanting to grow into another leadership role. So it may be an assistant coach to a head coach, or a junior high coach to a junior high coordinator, or a head coach to an assistant AD or AD. And we talk about in these sessions, embrace the hard. Leadership is hard. And are you ready to have hard conversations? It's not for everyone. And I think it's rewarding. I love it. I love what I do, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it's not for everybody, and it is difficult. And sometimes you have to make decisions that impact someone that you really care about and love. You have to make a change maybe you want to make a change because you think that's what's best for a program, but that's maybe not what's best for that individual's family and his career or her career. And so those are the difficult parts about making that jump from being an assistant to be the leader of the face of a program.
Definitely. And when you're a coach, there's always somebody on the next rung of the ladder that you can turn to when you're facing something that's maybe unique to you, or you just don't have the answers to. Who do you turn to when things come up?
That is really good. I mean, I just have a great circle of friends and colleagues in this area that, it kind of feel like it starts with, my assistant AD, Kevin Pitts, he's ready to be an AD, just incredible leader, incredible person. So he's probably one of the first ones that I'll go and I'll bounce something off of, because he's my right-hand guy, and we see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I also know he'll be honest with me and he'll tell me what he thinks, not just what I want to hear, because that's what you want. I want someone to be honest with me, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to tell you, here's how I think I want to handle this. Shoot holes in it. What do you think? And then in Region 3, we just have an incredible group of athletic directors that are great people, and, Philip O'Neill, who just retired from Mansfield, somebody I lean on, and Becky Spurlock and Azel, who's retiring, and those are two people that I just have on speed dial. And Jennifer Frazier does an incredible job in McKinney ISD, and I have so much respect for, those are a few. There's so many. It would take a while just to list them all. But, I tell people all the time, you better have a circle of people that you can call and that you can trust, that they will tell you what they think. Because I think sometimes when you're in a leadership role, people just assume, man, they just have all the answers. They got everything figured out. They make it look easy. And it's like, no, I'll be the first to admit I'm going to bounce some things off of people, and I'm going to make sure, is this what's best? And I have an incredible boss in Matthew Gibbons, and we have a chief of staff in Mike Hasso, and our superintendent Tabitha Branham. They're just great people who lead with love and grace, and they're all in for kids. And those are people too that I can go to, and they're going to support me. I may not get a yes on everything I ask, but they're going to listen, and they're going to say, okay, tell me what you want, tell me why you want to do this, and they're going to help problem solve, and they're going to always be there and pick up the phone if I need them.
Excellent. And at the beginning, we talked about the growth in girls' sports, but there's been an equally explosive growth in women coaching and ADs. What have you seen in that area?
I think so. I've noticed that too. There was a time, many years ago when I, first walked into a regional ADs meeting, and I was really one of very few females in the room. And now that's not the case. I mean, you just see more and more females, and I think that's great. I think, representation matters, but it's more than just gender. I think I'm so glad that, we have a diverse school district, and we're seeing more diversity in head coaches that we hire, and more minorities being hired and getting an opportunity that is long overdue that they deserve. And so I think that's great. And, I want to give a shout out to our male coaches. When I was named AD, I had more text and congratulations from our male coaches than I did our females. And it was like it was a non-issue to them. And I've never felt like, I'm not one to go rah-rah, hey, I'm a female and we deserve more opportunities and this and that. But I do have people actually say sometimes, wow, that's a big job, and that's usually a male's role. And I don't hear that as much anymore, but I did early on, and I have not felt that. I've felt like I've been embraced with open arms, and I don't know, I'm a huge sports fan. It doesn't matter what sport it is, and I feel like I eat, sleep, and breathe it, and always have. And I just think that that's an interesting concept, because we are getting to a day and age where I do feel like you're seeing more equal opportunities for all people, regardless of ethnicity and regardless of gender. I still think we have a ways to go, but I do feel like some of the best coaches and best people I know are female. But also on the flip side, some of the absolute best people that I've ever met that are great at their job that I have on speed dial that I need to bounce things off of are male. So it just comes down to, are they good leaders? Are they all in for kids? Do they, not a big ego? They're humble. They lead with humility. That to me is what separates, really good people and good leaders from great ones.
I love it. And what about threats? What threats do you see facing athletics here in Texas?
Well, I always worry about, I hope that we never see a day and age where we lose the athletic period. Because in so many states, athletics is before or after school, and it's not during the school day. And we're special here. We're the envy of so many different states. I believe that, athletics and fine arts both are part of the educational process. And so that's something that is always in the back of my mind, that, I hope we don't get lawmakers in place where they don't see the value. I am worried that public ed's under attack, and, that's always a concern. But we need to keep telling our story. When you look at the GPA of student athletes or kids involved in fine arts, extracurricular, it's higher than those that are not. And if you look at test scores, and if you look at just the overall, attendance, just even attendance of our student athletes and kids in fine arts and extracurricular compared to a student who's not involved. I mean, they need to come to school. They need a reason to come to school. And most kids don't wake up and go, I can't wait to go to English or math class. But they do wake up excited to go to band, theater, athletics, whatever it may be, and then we hold them accountable. We hold them accountable through no pass, no play, and we see them. We see kids every day, and so that's one thing that worries me when public ed's under attack. I just hope that we don't ever lose the athletic period, because I think that would be a really huge hit, for us in public ed and athletics.
Definitely. And a lot of what the THSCA does is legislative lobbying to make sure we protect those kind of things.
Absolutely. So appreciative of THSCA. They spend so much time, and whether it's, they'll prepare all kinds of communication, and they keep everybody updated. They work countless hours, promoting what we do, and because what we do matters. I'm not sitting here today in this position if it's not for athletics. And that athletic career starts with UIL in 7th grade, and the foundation of what we do, and it is so important. And so of course, huge proponent of public ed and what it's done in my life, and just want to protect it. And I know that we have a lot of people in this state that feel the same way, but so appreciative of THSCA and their staff because they do a tremendous job.
Right on. Well, Coach Leslie Slovak, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing your thoughts, your inspiration, and some of your story.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You hear it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coach's Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Daly, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call.